Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Scott Stoll, and welcome to another edition of Awesome Vegans.
Woohoo! So here we are again on a Friday night with Dr. Scott Stoll. He is the founder of the Plantrician Project. We're going to get into what the Plantrician Project is. Dr. Stoll, thank you for being with me.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you.
Yes, it is. It's great to have you because I've been following the Plantrician Project now for a while. Please tell everybody what it is.
So many years ago, when I first started taking care of patients and trying to understand how to transition my patients to a whole food plant-based diet, it took me years to learn not only the information, but also years to understand how to help somebody make lifestyle changes. So I decided that we would start a conference to start educating healthcare providers. And then we wrapped that in a not-for-profit called the Plantrician Project to develop resources and tools to help healthcare practitioners around the world know how to integrate healthcare and whole food plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine into their practices.
So it can seem overwhelming at first because, as you say, it's not just diet, it's also the healthcare system, and even the thought of it is overwhelming to me. So how is it that you work all these things together? Because usually a doctor says, well, here's what I'm telling you to do, and the rest of it, good luck.
Yeah, that's right. And we essentially get no training in lifestyle medicine or nutrition. In fact, I think the research shows that at the very most, some medical schools may have 19 hours of nutrition. Most medical schools get none. And in fact, what's so amazing is none of that nutrition is really geared around prevention, suspension, or reversal of disease. Much of it is, ICU nutrition and basic hospital nutrition, maybe ADA nutrition. So it's nothing that you and I would understand that really is going to maximize nutrition of someone.
So everyone that I've talked to always says that they got 4 hours or less of nutrition education in medical school. And really, it was all about things that were inaccurate, like eat meat.
Right.
That's really what...
You want protein, you got to get meat.
Right. So even the doctors don't know. And I think that this is frightening because doctors are in a position of power and authority, and they're comfortable giving out advice. That's what they do all day long. And maybe they shouldn't be in an area where they're not really that skilled. And I realize it's hard to say, oh, hey, that's not my area of expertise, but you don't want to mislead people either. So you have the tricky job of not only bringing the general public along about how we can be healthy, you have to bring the doctors along too.
That's right. And, doctors are so important to healthcare providers because we know that each healthcare provider reaches about 2,500 people on average.
Oh.
They'll see 1,500 to 2,000 people in a year.
That's a lot.
And so there's a huge opportunity to impact lots of people and lots of families by educating healthcare providers. But healthcare providers need a lot of help. They first need to, have the humility to receive the information, know that they
be open to it.
Yes, it's really... So we want to present information that is as scientifically solid as possible. And that's what we do at the conference.
Okay, so this conference, which again we were saying is about to start tomorrow with Dr. Esselstyn, so exciting. And then it's got all the big heavy hitters. Dr. Ornish is going to be here. Dr. Greger's going to be here. And of course, a bunch of other wonderful people. Is Dr. Barnard here?
Dr. Barnard's here. We're recognizing Dr. Barnard with our Luminary Award this year for the amazing work that he's done in his lifetime.
Incredible. And he's still doing it. It's not like it's ending.
That's right.
No, that work is still happening. Okay, but again, the focus here is on the doctors. So I think that's what's so incredible about the Plantrician Project is it's really trying to help doctors get the information so that they can pass it along to the 2,500 people they see a year. So what kind of pushback or resistance do you get from doctors and or the medical field?
Well, I think the first thing that we encounter is apathy, actually, in the healthcare system. A lot of doctors are very busy. The healthcare system has really been a burden for so many. They're seeing 40 people a day on average. Right. They have electronic health records and all kinds of emails, and many of them are working at nighttime to catch up on their work from the computer. Yes. And so they're just burned out and they're tired. So I think we encounter apathy first. Second, we encounter disbelief from the healthcare system, like that can't be true, and then they'll say things like, that's not real science, is it? There can't be any science for that kind of, you can't reverse heart disease and diabetes.
Amazing.
And so, we have to show them that there is science. There's a bit of hubris in healthcare.
Yes,
I think that
we
encounter that.
Yes.
And so, they'll say things like, there is no evidence for And it's not that they ever went back and did the research themselves.
They just haven't looked. They're assuming there's no evidence.
They're assuming there's no evidence.
Yeah.
So we have to overcome those hurdles by presenting the evidence and being as reputable as possible and not going beyond the evidence when we're speaking. So we try to be very careful as healthcare providers.
So you're conservative, really, when you talk to the doctors, because you want to make sure you're all buttoned up. No room for error there.
We are all buttoned up, yeah. For example, my presentation, I have 100 different references just for my hour presentation with, references noted so that everything is buttoned up. You can always go back to the literature and review the literature if you have any questions about what I've said or other people have said.
And I'm curious about the disbelief, just from sort of an anecdotal standpoint. What is the most area of disbelief? Is it that you don't need protein, as much protein as they thought? Is it that meat is bad for you? I'm curious where the largest gap is in information.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that number one, that you can reverse disease. They cannot believe
without pills.
You can reverse heart disease, type 2 diabetes. The second is that you can get protein from plants. That's a big one, as we know.
Yes, right.
That's always the first question that everybody asks. Where do you get your protein?
Yes, right, yeah.
And then the third is that there's a belief that eating plants, you're going to be deficient in something, or that it's actually harmful. And we have to overcome that obstacle.
Actually harmful? What's the harmful part?
That you will be deficient in a number of nutrients.
I see.
And so, the
You'd
diet...
be starving yourself of
not enough, they'll point to things like vitamin B12 and calcium and protein. It's a deficient diet. And then sometimes they'll pull up, examples of vegans or vegetarians. And my orthopedic partners used to say when they operated on a vegan or vegetarian that their bones were soft. And that would be the pushback from my orthopedic partners.
Are they making that up, or where does that come from? Because I think we've seen, I'm going to quote Switch for Good now. Maybe you've heard of them.
Yes, know them very well.
Yes, of course you do. And they are always saying that actually at least for women and hips, your bones can be more brittle if you're not on a plant-based diet. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but maybe you know what I'm talking about.
If you're eating a healthy, whole food plant-based diet with a wide variety of foods that contain not only the calcium, but all of the micronutrients that optimize bone density, and you've eliminated all of the foods that are going to suck calcium out of your bones, phosphoric acid, sugar, meat, the Western diet, caffeine, you will have healthier bones. And I think what they are speaking from experience. So they've had 1 or 2 patients.
I see.
And, it's possible that those patients didn't eat very well. And as you and I both know, they're very unhealthy vegans and vegetarians too.
Sure, as well, yes.
And so, they're using anecdotal evidence to create a broad paintbrush of, all vegans and vegetarians saying that they have weak bones.
I see. And this is coming from the people who said, but there's no science there.
That's
now
right.
They're quoting something that's not scientific, because that's not a scientific study to have a patient or 2. So very interesting. So now the doctors that are coming this weekend here in Oakland, they decided voluntarily to come, or they have been assigned to you from their medical... I'm just curious how they got to you. Are they willing participants, or are they skeptics?
No, most of the ones that come here are willing.
Okay.
So this is a continuing medical education conference. So all healthcare providers have to obtain about 100 hours of CME every 2 years to maintain a license. So this is a CME conference. And so all of the healthcare providers that are coming have come because they want to learn the information, and it's an educational opportunity, and it's an opportunity to sit and meet other people from around the world that are practicing lifestyle medicine and food as medicine. Yeah,
so it's a great chance for even the doctors to network as they try to share resources and studies and how they've helped their patients. So how many people are attending this year, and is it a growth factor from last year?
Yes, we've grown. This is our 7th year. Wow. Our first conference, we had 200 people. This year, we'll have about 1,100.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
And what's really exciting to me is that every year, 70% of the people are new. So this year, we have 70% of our attendees are new healthcare providers, which is really exciting to me that we're reaching more and more each year, and it's not the same group that's coming back.
And so how are they finding out about you?
Most of this is done through social media channels, through
Really?
emails, through amazing partners like Forks Over Knives that are making,
Sure.
reaching out and helping us to connect to the other healthcare providers around the world.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, well, so a lot of really interesting things are happening right here this weekend in Oakland with the Plantrician Project, and it's the International Plant-Based Nutritional Conference going on here. But maybe let's address some of the things that are happening in the news around the plant-based world right
Sure.
now. So there's this big discussion about plant-based food that you can buy in packages as being bad for you, processed. So basically we're talking about Beyond Meat and the Impossible Burger. But of course many other burgers are hitting the shelves. Trader Joe's is coming out with a burger. Smithfield is coming out with a burger. Light Life has a burger. Field Roast, I think, has a burger, but it's not yet in the fresh meat section. So what about these processed foods? The meat and dairy industry are saying that they're bad for you. Let's talk about that.
So I think the comment that you just said that the meat and dairy industry are saying they're bad for you. It's
gives
it's
it away,
little telling,
doesn't it?
yeah.
Yes.
But what I like to see, I've treated patients for almost 16 years. And so what I tell my patients is that if you have a severe disease, you really have to fight with every bite. And that, to me, means that you really need to maximize your exposure to phytochemicals, antioxidants, minerals, vitamins. And in those cases, the quality of your diet really matters. So for those patients, I typically don't recommend that they eat like the processed vegan foods. For people without severe disease that are making lifestyle transitions, these foods can be very helpful.
As a stepping stone.
As a stepping stone,
Right.
because it's challenging for someone that's been in our culture to go from eating McDonald's to eating a bean burger. That sometimes is a difficult stretch.
Right.
And so going from a McDonald's or a Burger King to Beyond Meat Burger and Impossible Burger, it seems
Yeah.
like a reasonable step, and it helps them to realize that this food can be very delicious. They're not missing anything.
Right. And that opens the door.
It opens the door to move on along the way. So I think they're very helpful transitionally, but we also know they're very beneficial environmentally.
Right.
And the environmental benefits far outweigh the any of the benefits that might be lost by eating meat or not making that transition.
And of course, we haven't even talked about animal welfare. But let me give you my I'm not a doctor 101. Okay, so this is what I see when I look at the nutritional information on the back of meat and on the back of something, let's say Beyond Meat or the Impossible Burgers. This is what I see. You correct me, tell me if I'm wrong. They're give or take the same on salt. They're give or take the same on calories. They're give or take the same on fat. But then the story changes. They're better on cholesterol because they don't have any. They're better on fiber because they do have some. They have no hormones. They have no antibiotics. They have no animal heme. Now, Impossible Foods has vegetable heme, but the jury is out. We don't know, not enough studies to say if that's going to be equal with meat or better. But it's not worse. Nothing's worse so far. And there's no, as I told you, this is Medicine 101. TMAO, trimethylene oxide?
That's right.
Okay.
Good job.
I think that's mostly made in fish, but also land mammals.
It's actually made by our bacteria that live in our gut when they're exposed to choline and carnitine. So those choline and carnitine come from animal-based products, including eggs. And when we consume them, the bacteria in the gut that have been regularly exposed to animal products will break those down and create the TMA, which is oxidized in the liver and becomes an inflammatory molecule.
Inflammatory. You heard him. Okay, so we don't have TMAO. And then animal welfare and the environment. So I'm going to say from my Nutrition 101 that they're equal on 3 things and they're better on 7 or 8 or how many I just listed?
Right.
6, 7, 8. So I don't know. That's an easy win, I would say.
It's an easy win.
That's an easy win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's funny because right after I see Dr. Stoll, I am going to see opera singer Lucas Meacham, and he dropped about 40 pounds by making his meal before every opera performance, because you need to really eat if you're going to sing and belt it out for 4 hours. He made his meal from a meat meal to the Impossible Burger, and he dropped about 40 pounds and is ready to sing its praises, quite literally. So funny that we're talking about this today. Okay, so we've established that, right? So next time you see in the newspapers that they say, oh my gosh, this processed meat stuff isn't great for you, you know what to say, right, people? You're down with the program. Okay, so we talked about some of the barriers that you're finding. What are some of the great steps that you've made that 5 years ago you never thought you'd see?
Yeah, I think what I never thought I would see at this point in time are the number of healthcare systems that are opening up lifestyle medicine centers, organic farms, and making transitions. It's happening rapidly.
Yes.
There are several medical schools, one in South Carolina, and I just learned today of Case Western in Cleveland, that are starting to integrate whole food plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine into the medical school curriculum.
Oh my gosh. Well, this would be doing everyone a great service, I think, if doctors could get nutritional information in medical school, because therein perhaps is really the biggest problem. If the people who are disseminating the information don't really have the information, then you've left the information up to marketers.
That's right.
Because the public doesn't know. So they're getting their information from, non-GM, labels that say new and improved, basically, or this kind of marketing and selling. And we all know that that's bad for our health.
That's right. And the research shows that people want to hear from their doctors. They want their doctors to give them direction. They want their doctors to tell them the safest and healthiest way to eat. But doctors are ill-equipped to do so. Mm-hmm. And so it's really exciting to know that these educational centers are taking this on. And the thing that gives me so much hope as I travel to medical schools and work with residents is that medical schools and residents have these wonderful student groups for plant-based nutrition. And they are passionate, and they're making inroads with their fellow students, and they're doing incredible things. And so, the next generation is going to be the generation that really sees kind of a global impact, I believe.
Yeah, I love that, because the next generation is doing what we had all hoped would happen, is that they're taking it on in several prongs. They're taking on the environment, they're taking on the healthcare system, they're taking on animal welfare, we're taking back our health. We're empowering ourselves. When we educate ourselves about our bodies and what our bodies need, we empower ourselves, and we don't leave ourselves prey or subject to the marketing slogans. So I just think it's really beautiful to see it on all fronts. Okay, I have a couple other questions before we get into some good nutrition, because we all want the answers to some of our health issues. Culinary RX, what program is this?
Yeah, so several years ago we recognized that people are having a difficult time making a transition because they don't know how to cook. Yes. They don't know how to use a knife. They don't know how to steam broccoli. They don't even know how to make oatmeal. Yeah. And I realized this when I was taking care of my patients, that I would recommend basic things like make oatmeal in the morning, and they would say, well, how do you make oatmeal?
Oh my word,
And so my wife and I made a cookbook, but then we decided to, with the Plantrician Project, to partner with Ruby Cooking School, which is an online cooking school that works with hotels, including the Marriott around the world,
good.
Training their chefs. And so it's a wonderful 10-hour cooking program which teaches basic culinary skills in the kitchen, meal preparation, meal planning, and it also has the basics of whole food plant-based nutrition and disease reversal.
Wonderful.
So in 10 to 12 hours, people can do this online, very interactive program and get everything they need to start moving forward.
Yeah, I love it. It's wonderful, because ultimately, the more connected you are to your own food source, the better your health will be. There's just no way around that. And cooking, for anybody who says they don't have time, and I totally understand that, because I know the world is running around with, you probably have 2 or 3 kids at home and maybe 2 or 3 jobs. Gosh, it's just not easy out there. But you can do things to keep cooking simple and quick, and it can be relaxing and therapeutic, like a little bit of like mental yoga. You chop vegetables and you get a break from life. That's how I see it. So time in the kitchen can be really fun. Okay. I'm wondering if you have any pushback from the insurance world that doesn't want to see people cure themselves with plants. They want to keep people on medicine and pills.
Not direct pushback, but I've had conversations through the years with people that are fairly high level at in insurance companies, and they have shared with me that because of their current publicly traded positions, that lifestyle medicine, plant-based nutrition is not an optimal fit for them. Mm-hmm. And so, like here in California, there are some insurance companies that are recognizing the benefits, and they've partnered with ACLM to begin integrating lifestyle medicine.
Yes.
We've done a lot of work with Kaiser over the last number of years, and we had 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, Kaiser doctors at our first conference, and this year we'll have about 300. And so there are changes within these healthcare systems and within the insurance companies moving this direction.
Do you think you'll see any changes coming down from government? Because ultimately it's wildly inefficient the way we encourage people to have a very negative diet that then costs them a lot of money, and whatever they can't pay, which they often can't pay, then the state is paying, and then we're having more taxes go towards this. So do you think you're going to see any government mandate come down that we have to change our diet?
I would love to, Elizabeth.
Okay, noted. I'll take that to Congress.
This year there was a proposal for some legislation moving toward utilizing lifestyle medicine for family healthcare practitioners and family medicine. But that's a ways off, I think.
Really? Okay.
So I really believe that the first wave of change is grassroots, and it will grow up rather than from top down. And so,
yes, we've talked about that on this show, and this is why we are all so powerful. We vote with our dollars on every meal.
That's right.
You don't have to wait 4 years to vote. You vote 3 times a day, and you are taking back that power for yourself because you are so powerful.
That's right.
So if you get discouraged when you watch TV and you're like, oh my God, a bunch of crazies are running our country, left or right, it's not a Republican versus a Democrat thing. It's just all politicians seem to be not in line with what the people want and need. And when you take back that power yourself, you send a clear and direct message with your dollars. And that's when you start to see change.
That's when we see change.
It doesn't come from the top down. It comes from the bottom up.
That's right. I always tell people, just think that, you eat about 100 bites a day or 2,000 pounds a year. I mean, it's incredible how much food passes through our body, but what also is amazing is how much money we're actually spending on food. And you're exactly right. If we are voting with our dollars and we're buying locally grown, when we can, organic, sustainable, transparent food that is kind and compassionate, that food is the food that will transform not only your life and your family's life, but that food begins to transform agriculture. It transforms business, and it will eventually transform the world.
Yes, that is so accurate, and and the jobs go with it. So you don't lose any farming jobs; you just shift them. I was talking in an interview before. Light Life, which is part of Greenleaf Foods, Life and Field Roast are part of Greenleaf Foods. They are opening a 230,000 square foot plant-based factory in Indiana in the heart of animal agriculture. It's going to be ready in 2020. It's going to offer 460 plant-based jobs. You assume a household of 4 people, you're talking give or take about 800 people are reliant on that plant-based paycheck. So, you don't lose jobs. We still all have to eat. So you're still making food, but it's a different kind of food. Better for us, better for the environment, better for our taxes, better for animals.
That's right.
So, and we do that. We make that happen. And if you're waiting for government, you're going to be waiting a long time.
That's true.
Okay, so come on, doctor in the house. Let's get some answers. I'm very confused. So I like to juice, and once a week I juice my very favorite juice. Here it goes. Red pepper, 6 carrots, 1 big lemon, a little bit of turmeric. And I try to drink that all day. Like one day I just juice. Okay, but then I was thinking, I'm getting this micronutrients packed, but of course I've taken out all the fiber because I've juiced. So is it as good as I think?
Yeah, so this is what I always tell my patients is the reason that you would juice is to, maximize exposure to phytochemicals. And so it's not bad to juice occasionally, or like you're doing once a week. But what we don't want to do is substitute juicing for real food, whole food that has fiber and all of the other nutrients.
Okay.
And so, I will add in juicing to my patients' diets to increase the exposure, but I won't substitute juicing for even a green smoothie or a whole food plant-based meal on a consistent basis, because I believe you're right. If you are not getting fiber, you're missing something very important.
Okay. And carrots have sugar, of course. Any sort of concern there? No,
if you're just drinking like a juice or 2 a week or occasionally, it's not an issue. If you're drinking lots of juice every single day, I think there could be a potential issue.
Okay.
And they're going to be more calorie dense.
Right.
But adding it in to a wide spectrum of whole food plant-based meal and green smoothies, I think it can be a nice addition.
Okay, well, it's very fun. Sometimes I just feel that I should give my body a break. And so I do this red pepper, lemon, and carrot juice thing for, usually I make it for 36 hours. So from one dinner that ends probably at 8 o'clock or something, I'll wait until the following day's breakfast. But sometimes I don't make it through and I have a salad for dinner that night. But I like to give my body a break.
Well, the short fasting is very helpful. And if you're utilizing it that way to do some intermittent fasting, that is very beneficial.
But why is intermittent fasting beneficial?
So the research...
I'm sorry. Just please, for those of us who are confused, because for a long time I heard breakfast is the most important meal of the day, never skip it. But you're going to have to skip something if you're intermittent fasting. So help me.
So there's different ways. Well, first, if we just look at intermittent fasting, the research shows that when you intermittently fast, it turns down inflammation. It turns up some of the growth factors and repair factors in your body. It allows your body an opportunity to heal. And so they've shown that intermittent fasting improves longevity. And so that's why it's beneficial. And the ways to do intermittent fasting there's some simple ways to do it. You can eat an early dinner and a late breakfast.
Okay.
And in that way, you can have almost a 16-hour intermittent fast.
Okay.
And most of your fasting then is at nighttime, so you're not thinking about missing food or walking through and looking at the refrigerator to see if there's something there to eat.
And is that something you recommend on a daily basis, or once a week you do that kind of 16-hour rest from eating?
You know what? You can do the 8 on, 16 off can be done on a daily basis. You can consume all of your calories in the 16 hours. Or the 8 hours,
and the 8 hours,
and then off for 16 hours.
Okay.
And that works very well. You can also do 24 or 36 hour like you're doing once a week.
Yeah.
And then once a year, if you're feeling brave, you can do a longer fast.
How long?
Let's get specific.
You can 3 to 5 days can be very helpful.
Yeah.
I like to do at least a week, twice a year.
Okay. Now, when you do that, are you having any juice? Or just no calories, like it's all water?
So it depends on how busy I am. If I'm going to be really busy and working, I'll do juices or smoothies once a day to keep going.
Okay.
If I have some time to rest, I'll just do water for a week.
Wow. Well, that's part of it. You're getting to rest. So in a way, you're not only resting your digestive system, you're taking a break from life. You're
That's
resting
right.
your mental situation. You're saying, I'm off. I'm on vacation now.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. Okay. I will keep you guys posted if I'm able to do this. For sure, I like to do it once a week. But I'll say I always feel great when I eat an early dinner, so that I don't go to bed with food in my stomach. And then whenever I eat in the morning, I eat. But I just love to eat. I mean, it's cliche, I guess, but I really love to eat like the time that my grandparents ate, which was 6 o'clock.
And one other thing that was really helpful with intermittent fasting or fasting is it puts you back in control of food.
Oh,
By taking those breaks and creating a little bit of structure around your food, you really feel much more in control. And I found, especially with patients, that when they're doing intermittent fasting, if they happen to be out and they're missing a meal, they can say to themselves, you know what? I feel okay now. I don't have to eat.
Okay.
So it gives you a lot more confidence around food, and that food is not controlling you, but you're controlling the food that comes into your mouth.
Food control issues. Some of us might have a relationship with that subject, so I will report back. Okay, let's talk about carbs, fats, protein, keto. It's a big subject. I'll just say that we had a nice conversation here about fiber. And I always tell you this. One of the people that I had on my show before was John Sally, 4-time NBA champ, 6'7". So, who cares what I say? I'm 5'2". Okay, but he's 6'7". He's got to feed himself like constantly all the time. And he says, hey, if you are worried about where you get your protein, you are missing the boat, because you really want to be worried about where you get your fiber. Okay, but I'm worried about where I get my carbs from. So let me break this down. My boyfriend says carbs are bad because it gives you calories and sugar, and then your body is burning off those calories you just ate, so it's never going after your fat. And I'm saying to him, no, carbs are good. It just depends on what kind of carbs. So if they're whole grain carbs, it's keeping my body digesting at like a rapid speed and help me, doctor.
No, I think you're right on the right track, Elizabeth.
Okay.
What I like to tell people is that, carbs, protein, and fat are kind of neutral terms. They're talking about a simple macronutrient. The real question is, how are your carbs, fat, and protein packaged?
Okay.
What do they come with?
Okay.
So, for example, if we're talking about protein, it can be packaged in meat. And in that case, it's coming with some cholesterol. It's coming with omega-6 fatty acids. It's coming with some saturated fat.
Right.
It's not coming with
Fiber.
It's not coming with many vitamins.
Yeah.
It's not coming with any real antioxidants
It's coming
or
with
phytochemicals.
hormones and antibiotics.
Hormones. Exactly. I mean, most of the antibiotics, 80% of all of the antibiotics that are sold today go into animal agriculture, as you know. So it's coming with a host, it's coming with inflammatory molecules like Nu5GC. It's creating TMAO in your gut. It's coming with heme iron, which is an oxidant related to diabetes and heart disease. So a host of things are packaged with the protein in your meat. If we look at protein in plants, and all plants have protein, if you're looking at that protein, it comes packaged with fiber.
Right.
It comes packaged with a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals. It comes packaged with other minerals, important minerals like calcium. It comes packaged with polyphenols, anthocyanins, phytochemicals that reduce inflammation, that optimize healing. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
They did a study, they compared 500 calories of animal protein to 500 calories of plant protein from reasonable sources. The animal was like beef, chicken, and dairy, and the plants were tomatoes, potatoes, peas, and lima beans. And so in those two, in the plant-based protein, there was 33 grams of protein, and in the animal, 34 grams of protein. In the plants, there was 500 milligrams of calcium. In the animals, 250 milligrams. So equal protein, more calcium, obviously more fiber, more vitamins in the plant protein.
Yeah, so basically you're cheating yourself. Is that fair
You're
to say?
missing out on an amazing
yourself.
opportunity to heal yourself.
That's right. Now, it's funny that you put tomatoes in that, because I would not have thought that tomatoes give you anything except vitamin C, of course, and great taste, and I guess some fiber.
A little bit of. I mean, all of these things have a little bit of protein, fat, and carbohydrate.
Sure. Okay. So we've established that it's not just the term itself that is good or bad. The term is neutral, but it's how those things like fat and protein are packaged. But how does this relate to the keto diet that really says go for protein, or does it really say go for meat? I think it says go for meat.
So the Paleo Diet is heavy meat with some vegetables and the avoidance of processed food and sugars.
Okay.
We would agree with a few things in the Paleo Diet. The Keto Diet is really focused on fat. And so what they're trying to do is maximize fat intake, because they believe, at least they used to believe, that you could biohack the body by using this fat to push yourself into a ketosis, which would more efficiently burn fat as an energy source, causing you to lose weight and then optimizing your other biomarkers.
Right.
But what's very interesting is they've done some studies, in fact, funded by people, Gary Taubes, from the industry, the paleo industry and keto industry, and they found that the keto hypothesis did not stand up. People were not necessarily in a ketosis, that ketosis did not necessarily more efficiently burn fat. And what they actually found is that people lost weight on the paleo or keto diet because they were full and they weren't eating enough calories.
Oh, I see.
And so it was just a calorie deficient diet. And anytime you lose weight,
it's calories.
It's calories. And anytime you lose weight, there are going to be some benefits. Losing weight, you're going to see some improvements in biomarkers, and people are going to feel better. But the real question is, what happens after 6 to 8 weeks on a ketogenic or paleo diet? And we know there are significant negative outcomes: increased cardiovascular risk, renal disease, long-term increased risk of bone density issues, pulling calcium from your bones, significant issues with generation of TMAO and inflammatory biomarkers. So long-term, there are some negative consequences, and more studies are coming out documenting the negative consequences of ketogenic diets.
So I'm waiting for some of these people purporting that it's good for you to be sued, because the ramifications can be quite significant to people. I mean, of course, waiting to be seen. Okay, so I follow you there. Of course, all of that would make sense to me with meat, not being good for you, and then what you're saying about they just had a lot of calories, so they were eating less because they were feeling full from meat. So, okay. But what about that question that my boyfriend raises, that if you're eating carbs, you're never going to lose weight because you're always giving your body calories that it's burning through, so it never really goes for the excess fat?
Well, again, it's the same question.
Okay.
How are your carbs packaged?
Okay.
So, one way to look at this too, there was some really interesting research done by the researchers at Penn State University. And they looked at something called calorie density. And they measured the calorie density of foods per pound.
Okay.
And they found that if people were eating foods that were about 600 calories or less, you could eat all of the food that you wanted and maintain your normal body weight.
Okay. Foods that are 600 calories or less. So
Per
like
pound.
Per pound.
Per pound.
So an avocado is 250 calories, and you probably need 3 avocados to make a pound?
So they measured all of these foods, and then they drew a line. And so
Okay.
the majority of the foods that are 600 calories per pound or less
Okay.
are all of the berries and fruits,
Okay.
all of the whole grains and beans,
Okay.
most of vegetables and leafy greens.
Okay.
The only plant-based sources that would fall above the 600 calorie line are
My
some of the favorites, the
avocados.
avocados, but that's okay. You can just eat, you just have to be careful and just eat less. Dried fruits, nuts and seeds. So those are the things you eat in smaller amounts to maintain a healthy body weight, but you know that you can eat in abundant amounts all of the other fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, nuts and seeds, and
And
maintain
grains, and whole grains.
and whole
Right,
grains
yeah.
and maintain a healthy body weight.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
it gives you it helps to clarify the choices that you make in a day. You don't eat out of a nut bowl. You don't take bags of dried fruit along with you. And you don't eat 2-3 avocados and then say, man, my pants are getting tight. What's going on? It's because you're eating too many calorie dense
Okay.
fruits and vegetables. So we just have to balance that.
Okay. And you are a proponent of no oil. Where do you stand on that?
So what I usually tell my patients, there's 120 calories per tablespoon of oil.
It's very
And
dense.
so it's very calorie dense, and it does not have a lot of nutrients in the oil.
So sort of wasted
And so
calories in
it's
a way.
If we consider that, a woman should be consuming about 1,500 calories a day based on metabolism.
Awful.
Men about 2,200 or so.
I disagree that this is acceptable.
And so-
Cruel and unusual. Okay.
And then if you ask people, like, how much oil do you use or how do you cook with oil, they always do this. They pour it in. And, on average, when I was working with my patients, they were getting 4 or 5 tablespoons of oil a day, which is, upwards of
Six,
600
7.
calories a day, or almost a third of your total calorie intake from oil.
Okay. So
And
just
so
wasted. You're not giving
It's a missed
yourself.
opportunity
Yes,
to get
right.
all those beautiful things
Yeah.
we talked about earlier, including fiber.
Yes,
And maybe we can come back
yes.
to fiber and talk about how amazing that is.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about how amazing fiber is.
So, we often think about fiber as regularity, and that was always the thought for so long. My dad used to buy a bag of oat bran, put it in his orange juice, and drink oat bran because it improved regularity, lowered cholesterol. But fiber is so important for feeding the microbiome, the 100 trillion
okay.
bacteria that live in our gut. And what
Great
they're
to
finding
know.
today is that when people consume fiber, especially those fibers that are not digested by our stomach, but they're digested by the healthy bacteria, they produce little molecules called short-chain fatty acids,
Okay.
like butyrate.
Okay.
And so these are incredible, though. They go throughout the body, and they reduce inflammation. In fact, they turn off a master switch in inflammation in the body. They operate and they turn on and turn off genes. Butyrate actually turns on and turns off genes epigenetically in our body related to cancer, heart disease, and inflammation. So it's very powerful.
So this is why when we say you're reverse, I shouldn't say we. This is why Dr. Scott Stoll, when he says you're reversing chronic disease, it's by including a lot of fiber in the diet, right? Plant-based fiber.
Plant-based fiber, that's right. And when we have fiber too, they found that it actually whisks away excess estrogen and whisks away extra cholesterol.
So
And so it serves so many purposes.
when I think of fiber, I think of roughage, but they're not always one and the same.
Well, it's always, that's kind of the general thought.
Yeah.
That fiber was always roughage before we understood that it served as a food source for our microbiome, that we're actually feeding our microbiome from those fibers and resistant starches that we can't process as a person.
So this is where I come in and I advocate for avocados because avocados are really high in fiber.
They're excellent.
They're
That's
like
right.
off the charts high in fiber. Look it
You
up,
just
Google
can't
it,
eat 3
people.
avocados in a day. Unless that's your
Right.
whole thing to eat all day long.
No, I don't. I don't do it. No, but I do make a lot of homemade guacamole. I gotta say, and it's
I
pretty
had an
good.
avocado
Yes.
sandwich for lunch
Well, there
today.
you go.
Enjoy it.
There
Hummus
you
and
go.
avocado.
Oh, yum. Yeah, so you can't go wrong with avocados. Don't want to slam them, but okay, not 3 in a row. Okay, so what are some of the other really high fiber foods?
Whole grains are an excellent source of fiber.
Great.
Beans with the resistant starches
Love
are
them.
wonderful. All the leafy greens, as much as you can eat.
Yeah.
I love that. Sprouts. The cruciferous family is a great source of not only fiber, but all of the phytochemicals like the ITC. So eating some broccoli,
Yeah.
purple cauliflower.
Yeah.
You know, and just a good general guideline is the more color in your food, the better. So purple lettuce has more nutrients than green lettuce.
I love it. Eat the colors of the rainbow. Be as colorful as you can. The exception to that is, and I did look this up because I was trying to advocate for myself in my own kitchen because my boyfriend's like, oh, there you go again, carbs, carbs, carbs. And I was like, fiber, fiber, fiber. I do hot air popcorn with a little bit of nooch on top and just a teeny bit of spray oil, which, so I try not to cook with the, like he was saying, I try not to pour all the oil in the popcorn can and then make popcorn the old way. I air pop it and then it has a lot of fiber.
Yeah, it does.
And it's super tasty. And I'm one of those people who they take my blood pressure and they're always like, wow, you're about to die. Can't believe you're still, have really low blood pressure. So I do have salt, but I know for other people, salt is tricky.
For some, like we talked about earlier, when people have disease, I tell them to fight with every bite.
Yes.
And you need to be very careful if you're fighting disease.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You have to, of course, make your nutrition particular to you. And that really is why we need our healthcare officials or representatives, providers to be so educated, because it really is not one-stop shopping. It's very particular to every individual. But the information here is that you can reverse anything, even weight loss, which is always my goal, but you can reverse disease, and that's really the big thingy here. Okay, so just for the record, we're not going to go into this in depth, but just for the record, tell everybody what we already know. Tell us about soy, good or bad. Give it to us straight.
So the recent large studies and meta-analyses have found that soy is actually beneficial.
Yes. Okay, and why is that?
So for so long, it was thought that the phytoestrogens in soy would mimic estrogen effects in the body, and therefore it would be detrimental for men because estrogen would be too high, and for women, it would increase their risk of estrogen-sensitive cancers.
Okay.
But what they found is that actually the phytoestrogens work on a different receptor.
Okay.
And so it has a positive effect, but does not have the negative effect of increasing the estrogen effect in the body.
Okay, so it's official. It's good for you. I'll tell you, every morning I have, don't knock it till you tried it, because super good breakfast bowl. I have tofu, hemp seeds, raw oats, a tablespoon of date syrup, and fresh fruit. And that's my breakfast bowl. It's like 19 grams of protein. It's got lots of fiber. It's just easy. That's the thing. It takes like 3 minutes to make and like 3 minutes to eat. So it's my power breakfast, and it always includes raw tofu.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I do recommend to people is to eat organic tofu or organic soy, because
thank you for saying that.
Soy often is one of the most pesticide-filled foods, and they spray it many times before they harvest it. So it's really important to just get organic if you're going to eat soy.
I have to say, organic isn't one of the things I've ever noticed on a tofu package. Yeah,
we buy organic tofu at home all the time.
Okay, so that wouldn't be the average tofu that you see around.
If you look in most stores today, you can get organic tofu.
Okay, so now I want to ask something particular to my age group. So everyone, men included, are trying to age backwards. And I wondered, there's no magic pill, I get that. And it's a road, like anything else. Rome wasn't built in a day. And if you're going to be healthy, you have to work at this stuff every day. That 80-20 rule, give or take. And if you're older, maybe it's 85-15, 90-10, whatever. But tips you can give us for aging backwards from the dietary perspective.
From the dietary perspective, it's maximizing greens.
Okay.
So I like to eat, several, at least salads or the equivalent of dark leafy greens. I really believe that eating sprouts is also beneficial if you're trying to reverse. There are more nutrients in like broccoli sprouts than in broccoli.
Okay.
So it's a great way to expose yourself to higher degrees of antioxidants.
Okay.
Berries, lots of berries. Like you mentioned earlier, hemp seeds are some excellent sources of omega-3 fatty acids.
And omega-6.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I also like to tell people that about 25% of the population can't convert DHA to EPA from plants. And so as we're aging, it's probably beneficial to take an algae-based EPA or DHA source, omega-3 source.
Okay. In like a hemp seed, you mean? Or like actually
I take a supplement every day because they found that in especially some vegans that are not sufficient in omega-3s, their brain atrophies. And so it's really important because that is 25% of the population is a significant portion of the population that's not able to convert dietary sources of DHA to the important EPA.
Okay, and so tell me again what to take.
And so to take a supplement of algae-based omega-3.
Algae-based omega-3. A supplement of algae-based omega-3. But of course, if you had tests done on yourself, you'd probably know if you were able to
That's right,
convert.
and that's always a good way.
Yes.
I always recommend to people to just get some blood work, check your B12, check your vitamin D, check your omega-3 status, and follow those to make sure that you're sufficient in those things. Because if those are deficient, those can really hurt you.
Okay.
That handful.
Okay. Well, B12, we know, I think we know everybody gets supplements. So if you're eating meat, animals don't have any B12 because the soil from which they used to eat, they don't even do that anymore because they've got all this feed. But
they have to supplement animals.
They have to supplement animals. So animals are given B12 and we have to take B12 as vegans. So everyone's getting a supplement of B12. So that's kind of a wash. Everyone gets your B12, go out and do it. But omega-3, I love what you're saying. I hadn't realized that before. Double check everybody that you're getting enough omega-3, and standard blood work will do this for you.
Most doctors can order an omega-3 panel. That's right.
Okay, I'm going to get mine for sure. I love that. And then what about, as the body changes, you have hormonal changes, either if you're going like from puberty into being adulthood, or if you're trying to get pregnant, or now I'm speaking specifically for women, but I think men also lose testosterone. And then if you're going into older years as women, you've got hormonal stuff too. So what foods can help you regulate your hormones if you want to be thinking about getting pregnant or thinking about like transitioning into later?
Yeah, so there's so much we could say on this. Such an important topic, but we'll keep it really simple. So there are a lot of foods that deplete some of these things. Sugar can significantly reduce testosterone in men and impact hormonal balance for women.
Oh, that I can, So
that's an important one to not have in your diet. Medications can also impact that, including blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, anti-inflammatory medications, and pain medications, opioid medications can deplete testosterone and disrupt hormonal profiles. So those are important if you have an issue to try to do your best to get those things reversed so you can discontinue those medications so they're not causing disruption.
Good to know.
And then again, it's the same handful we talked about earlier. It's it's eating enough foods that have omega-3s, all of the hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, a few walnuts, leafy greens, berries. The same handful of foods that's really important. But what also is important is exercise. Exercise is very important for balancing hormones, mitigating stress. And that stress is really a key. The cortisol piece from stress can really disrupt the estrogen progesterone balance for women and the testosterone for men. So learning to release stress and not carry stress, learning to forgive people, learning to eliminate bitterness from our lives, learning to walk at that place with emotional healing eliminates stress, and that lowers cortisol levels and leads to healing physically, the same healing that we get emotionally when we release people.
Wow, did you guys get that? I just want to summarize that. So if you are able to forgive and not hold on to the stresses of life, you give I'm grossly paraphrasing, you give your body a chance to heal.
That's right.
Okay, so we had a lot of good information today. This is so helpful.
Oh, one more thing.
And one more thing.
Getting a good night's sleep. 7 to 8 hours.
This is where I shine. Oh, no, 8 to 9. Yes. Oh, yeah, now sleep. What's the point of living if you're not going to sleep, honestly? Yeah, no, I can't function if I get anything less than 9.
That's great.
I'm hardcore. Okay, so a couple questions just about you, because you're so fascinating. What are we always going to find in your fridge?
Oh, you'll always find in my fridge some fun things. I always have fermented foods. So I love,
Of course you do.
love turmeric kraut and fermented beets, and I eat some every day.
Oh, that's great. Fermented beets. Okay.
Yeah, I love those.
Oh, do you make
Great for
them-
nitric oxide.
Oh, fermented foods are meant to be great for you.
They are.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
right. So we eat some every day. I always have leafy greens in there.
Yep, sure.
I love some baked tofu. I have baked tofu in my fridge.
Okay.
Lots of berries.
Yes, yummy. And do you cook yourself?
We cook a lot at home. It's a big family project, and so all of our children are in the kitchen cooking, cutting. We have a wonderful time preparing food together.
Yeah, it's such a community exercise. So I always find, like, if anyone's ever taken improv, they always say stop talking and start doing together on stage. And the moment you're with your scene partner in improv and you start folding laundry together or ironing, the whole scene takes on. The relationships can come to life.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, so it's cooking is very much the same. Okay, so what's your go-to meal? You've been working all day and it's really a long day, but you know that you can walk in the door, it's going to be 10 minutes and it's always fantastic.
You know, what we do to try and prepare for those times, we always do batch cooking. So we'll have some beans prepared in the
Okay.
fridge.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have some organic brown rice or quinoa. And so we pull that out and we'll chop up veggies, chop up some avocado.
Yay.
And we'll make some kind of a bowl.
Yes.
Either Thai bowl, Mexican bowl, and we just put it all together and we eat.
That's what we do. We call it the garbage bowl. And we go in the fridge and we're like, okay, what's going to go bad? Oh, I see this bok choy is kind of on its last leg there. And then before you know it, you've got a bowl of like a bunch of stuff.
And it's
just
delicious.
And it's fantastic.
Add some herbs and
Yeah.
spices and you've got it.
Bowls are always good. Bowls are always good. Okay. I don't know if this question applies to you. What's your favorite snack? Do you
That's
have
good
a junk
question.
food? And if you don't, it can be...
my kryptonite would be chips and salsa if I had one. I could pass on
Yummy.
dessert. Sugar doesn't, but if somebody puts out really good chips and a homemade salsa, that's my kryptonite.
The thing is, it's not one chip. It's either a
It's-
bag of chips or no chips.
That's right.
That's where I land.
So we try to get organic, GMO free, and when we can, baked
Yes.
chips. So.
Yes. I tried to make my own. I would take corn tortillas and
Yes.
I would, again, with my spray oil, you can tell me if that's a bad idea.
That's okay.
I mean,
For a
it's
small amount. That's okay.
tiny amount of oil, but then I think, well, it's in this can. It's probably not that great for me, but... Or, you know, even then with your fingers, you can take a little bit of olive oil and just rub it on the corn tortillas. And then I take tajin, which is just a Mexican spice of lime and spice. And then I put them in the oven and I bake them and they get real hard and crispy. And then I break them up and I have my own chips
That's great.
and salsa. And salsa's
That's a
so
good way
good
to
for
do
you.
it.
So I kind of make my own chips just because I don't want to be left out of the party because chips are fun. That's the problem. Chips are fun. Okay. Do you have any pets? And if so, do you think they're any different than farm animals?
Well, we've had both. You know, we've had we moved out to a property many years ago, and we adopted a donkey. We adopted a goat. We had goats. We had sheep. We had ducks, chickens, and guinea hens.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, and we have 4 dogs right now and a cat. So we have lots of wonderful pets, and we've had so much fun. It's been such a fun relationship for our children with all the animals.
So beautiful. And so I guess you would say no difference between farm animals and dogs or cats.
I mean, I'll tell you that one of my favorite pets that we've had through the years, and if you ask my entire family, it was our pet turkey. We, for one holiday, we actually bought the turkey and took her home, and she became our pet. We called her Miss May. And she was, when we would walk outside, she would come running to see us, and we were picking in the garden, and she would sit there next to us, and she was the sweetest little pet. I would love to have a pet turkey again.
Oh, isn't that it's just a beautiful story? This is beautiful. What do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now?
10 years ago. I guess I wish that I knew how to help people make a lifestyle transition with the information that I understand now. I think I didn't understand the emotional component of food as well as I do, the relational component of food. And I think maybe 10 years ago, I was looking at it more pragmatically, like this is food, this is what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But food is really, I think the essence of food is relationship
Yes.
and not just nutrients or nutrition.
That's right.
And so I think I have a much greater appreciation for food as this beautiful foundational cornerstone of all of life. And it's meant to bring people into relationship, and we're meant to have healing healthy relationships through the meal that we eat with the people that we're eating it with, and then all of the people and in people that were a part of the production of that food, and the way that that food then impacts the future that we're leaving to our children. So it's I wish I understood that 10 years ago, because I think I have a really profound honor around food now that I didn't have 10 years ago.
Yes, I love that. I couldn't agree more. When we disconnect from food, we disconnect from each other, I think. So it's so powerful. The changes that can be made around food for people, even beyond nutrition.
That's right.
It's just really amazing. So you, as a doctor, probably have a very challenging schedule. Maybe some days are more challenging than others. If you have a bad day or something's not going your way, do you have a phrase that you rely on to get you through? Like I always like to say, nose to the grindstone, eyes to the sky.
Yeah, that's really good. I usually just tell myself too that, the sun's going to come up in the east tomorrow, and it's a brand new day.
Yes. Okay. So clean slate.
There's always a clean slate, and I always try to remind myself that, for myself and for others, that there's always an abundance of grace in every day and every situation.
Explain what you mean by grace here.
So not to be overly judgmental or hard or condemning of myself, nor to be condemning or overly judgmental of others in any situation, no matter what's going on, because there's always, for other people, there are always circumstances and situations that we don't understand that may be causing them to act in a certain way. And there's certainly, situations in our own life and past and things that we've been exposed to that may cause us to have a mindset or belief that's coming out. And so, it's easy to judge others and judge yourself. Mm-hmm. But I think the way to be able to excel and succeed and grow in all these situations is to give grace, an abundance of grace in every situation for every person, including yourself.
I love that. To share an abundance of grace, including with yourself. I love that. My last question for you is, I'll say this with respect to the medical field. Do you have any predictions for the future? I mean, obviously, I think we all would say we're moving towards a plant-based society, we hope, but do you have anything more specific than that, where you really see there's going to be dramatic change?
Yeah, I am more hopeful now than 3 years ago. I see so much change. I mean, the two healthcare systems in the area where I'm living, one is opening Lifestyle Medicine Center and has an organic farm on the healthcare facility. And the other one is just partnered with an organic farmer to begin bringing organic food in and starting the lifestyle medicine. So I really predict in the next 5 years, we're going to see healthcare systems around the country implementing lifestyle medicine working to grow food on their facilities that's served to patients and made available to hospital staff.
Well, that would be wonderful, because we know right now, on a large scale, the food that is served at hospitals is the food that makes you sick.
That's exactly right.
So that needs a large overhaul.
I believe that. And like you had mentioned, I believe that we're going to see in the next 5 years a global revolution of
5 years.
5 years of regeneration around food, healthcare systems, and agriculture.
And agriculture. And, it's not enough to just... It's not that I mean it's not enough. It's only the first domino when consumers are asking for different products. Now we're going to have to look, I think, at farming technologies and disrupting how we make our food, including our vegetables. We can't be so reliant on monocrops. And in my last interview, we were talking about vertical farming and, trying to move out of pesticides and all this kind of area.
Yeah, and indoor farming is going to be a
indoor farming.
Huge growth in the next 5 years as well.
Yes. And what is inspirational to me is the money's there. So it used to not be there.
That's
it
right.
used to not be supporting. And now, thank you, Beyond Meat, cha-ching, IPO. It's life after IPO, and the money is coming in droves for the agriculture and the technology behind it and the new products and the innovation. And this has always been where America has shined, in innovation. And that gives me a lot of joy and positivity towards the future that we might just like this.
I agree.
So awesome. Well, Doctor, thank you for speaking
Thank
with me.
you.
I really
it has
appreciate
been such a joy.
it.
Thank you.
For all these kernels of knowledge. We know what to do now, people, to stay healthy. And it's thanks to Dr. Scott Stoll. Thanks for being with me. And bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.